In the middle of the night, you notice that blue glow from under your teen's door. And unfortunately, you know another uncomfortable late night talk and more lies from your teen. Another night of his watching porn instead of sleeping. And you ask yourself, should they even have this thing, this phone, this technology? Parents, today, we're not just asking that question, we are answering it with compassion, with science, and with a plan. Welcome to the Parent Guide, helping your teen overcome pornography addiction. I'm Matt Bulkley, a licensed psychotherapist specializing in teen pornography addiction and family systems. Let's walk this road together. Here's the thing on this topic. Many parents cannot find the fortitude to take on this intervention. They can't hold the line. They don't want to deal with the fallout, risk the relationship, so they cave, and their teen continues a pornography addiction. Discovering that your teen is struggling with pornography addiction is probably one of the hardest moments that a parent can face, and one of the first instincts is to take the phone, cut off the technology. But is that too harsh? Will they be isolated? Will they hate you? This is a conversation I've had with countless parents over the years, and something that comes up every week in my practice, whether it be a student who is transitioning out of Star Guides to go home, or a new client I'm seeing in an outpatient setting whose parents are trying to determine if he should continue to possess a phone despite an ongoing addiction to pornography. Well, today we are diving deep into the phone dilemma in recovery and why smartphones aren't an entitlement, and how a phone-free reset can be a lifeline, and how to help your teen thrive without a screen in their pocket. We'll cover the science behind phones and relapse risk, how to handle the I'll be the only kid without one meltdown that so often occurs, a step-by-step recovery plan, even if they fight you on it, and real ways to fill the void with meaning, connection, and confidence. Remember, this isn't about control, it's about healing. Let's begin. Let's start with a hard truth. For a teen trying to obtain recovery from pornography, a smartphone is a loaded gun. I've sat with hundreds of teens in my office and in the field at Star Guides. The ones who relapse, nine times out of 10, it started with, I was just checking Instagram and then a suggested reel. And then next thing you know, I'm in a private browser tab. A study in 2020 in cyber psychology, behavior, and social networking, it found that unrestricted internet access increases the risk of exposure to explicit content by over 300% in teens. And that's not a maybe, that's a statistical trigger. So now you might be thinking, but what about a flip phone just for texts and calls? Well, here's the thing. I've seen teens get into sexting spirals with a $20 burner phone that only has a camera. One message leads to another, and suddenly they're creating the very content that they're trying to escape. Bottom line, if your teen has proven that they cannot use a phone without seeking pornography, removing access isn't a punishment, it's protection. It's like letting an alcoholic keep a flask just for emergencies. It simply doesn't work. But here's the good news. Teens don't need phones to thrive. In fact, going phone-free for a time can be the most liberating part of their recovery. Let me say that again. Liberating, not isolating. And today we'll show you how. Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. But everyone has a phone. I'll be a loser. I have no way to connect with my friends. I won't know what's going on. I hear that every week in session. And parents, you're not immune. You worry. Will they be bullied? Will they be left out? Will they lose friends? Will they be out of the loop? Will they be unreachable? Are they going to be stranded at school? Are they going to be unable to do group projects? Here's what I tell parents. A phone is a privilege. It's not a right. And when that privilege becomes a pipeline to relapse, it's not just okay to pause it. It's the responsible thing to do. So let's role play the meltdown, because this inevitably happens. Your teen says, well, you're ruining my life. I'm the only one at school without a phone. And your response, validate them, and then reframe and say, well, I hear you. It feels embarrassing, and I get it. Standing out is scary, but this isn't about making you suffer. It's about giving you a chance to heal without the temptation in your pocket. And then flip the script. What if not having a phone made you the kid who's actually present, the one people want to talk to because you're not glued to a screen. You don't always have your face in your screen. A 2019 study in developmental psychology found that in-person social connection is one of the strongest predictors of addiction recovery in teens. Texting doesn't cut it. So how do you help them stay connected without a phone? Let's get practical. And this is where the magic happens. A phone-free period isn't a void, it's actually a reset. Here's how to fill it with connection, purpose, and recovery. So number one, face-to-face connection. And this is the number one recovery tool. And unfortunately, this is becoming a lost art. Teens need to learn how to connect and communicate face-to-face, both with peers as well as with adults. And a smartphone, a phone in the pocket is always a distraction, always. An interesting social experiment is if you're in a social setting and somebody pulls their phone out of their pocket and checks messages or looks at their phone, it becomes a social contagion. I promise you, try it, and you will see that as soon as that starts to happen, everybody else starts to pull out their phones and check messages as well. The other thing about that is when you look in social settings, maybe you're standing in line at a grocery store or you're waiting for something, we've lost the ability to just be without instant entertainment, instant gratification. I can promise you, almost everybody who is standing, waiting, is scrolling a phone. Very rarely do you see somebody who can just be present without seeking that immediate gratification. So additionally, being phone free, it encourages lunch table talks, after school hangouts, sports participation, joining clubs. Pro tip here, ask their coach or a youth leader to pair them with a buddy. Accountability through friendship. A real story here, I had a client, Jake, part of the treatment plan, no phone for 3 months, so long as there were no relapses. During that time, he joined the school robotics club. Well, now, a year later, he's the president of the club, and he hasn't relapsed. Next, creative analog communication. So things like what we did when we were teens, handwritten notes to friends. Even though they're far and few between now, but a family landline for coordinating rides and communication, using school phones or having counselor check-ins at school for emergencies. Next, offline confidence builder. Again, back to sports, being a part of a team and getting that sense of belonging, participating in arts, things like journaling, sketching, guitar, emotional processing without a screen, things like volunteering, maybe at the animal shelter or at a food bank, finding purpose and making that purpose more valuable than pixels. And then finally, weekly family check-ins, maybe on Sundays. Well, let's talk about it. What sucked about not having a phone this week? And process it and talk about it. It doesn't have to be something that your teen suffers through on their own. And then the opposite of that would be, well, what was surprisingly awesome about not having a phone? One of my clients told me during week 4 that her son actually said, well, I talked to Sarah at lunch, like really talked, and I forgot how much fun that is. And that's recovery in action. Again, taking the phone away isn't cutting them off. It's actually cutting the cord to addiction. They'll fight it. They'll bargain. They'll cry. But 6 months from now, they'll thank you. And I've seen it. Well, so you want to plan. Let me give you the framework here. And this is what I talk to parents about in family sessions with parents. So step 1 is this: to break the addiction, there has to be a phone-free period, a go cold turkey period. And typically that's going to be somewhere in the 30, 60, 90-day range based on whether relapses happen and how much commitment that you're getting from your teen to take it seriously and to create recovery, to avoid relapse. So you're going to replace it with a family landline or a shared tablet or a parent-controlled device, and utilize the school-based communication. Schools have phones. Number 2, frame it as a team mission. Make it part of a family meeting script, and make sure that you can articulate, we're not doing this to you. We're doing it with you because you're worth protecting. Involve them in that process. What would make this feel fair? Maybe they get to pick the check-in day. Maybe they get to choose the reward for 30 days clean. And then step 3 is a gradual reintroduction with earned trust. And as we talked about, if we're talking about a 30-day period with no relapses, no phone. So you get to week 5, we get into that second month, and then maybe at that point you transition up into a dumb phone where there's calling and there's texting and maybe a camera. There's parent approved contacts. And as they begin to manage that, then they move into week 9, and then maybe at that point you reintroduce a smartphone with Covenant Eyes, Custodio, or Bark, and weekly reviews. And then finally, step 4 is going to be to introduce professional support. Can't emphasize it enough. Finding a therapist that's experienced working with teen pornography addiction, or joining a teen recovery group. At Therapy Associates in St. George, we have several therapists who are experts in treating teen pornography addiction, and combine that weekly therapy with your teen with monthly parent coaching. You as parents get involved with the therapist, do some family therapy, and then use the Recovery Toolbox for Teens as a structured guide to the therapy. You can get the Recovery Toolbox in the bookstore at the therapyassociates.net website. It includes the Breaking Free Workbook, the Breaking Free Parent Guide, and the 101 Tips for Quitting Porn. So, parents, pro tip here, put your phone away during family time. Model the behavior. Demonstrate that you can manage your life without a dependency on the technology. So it is true that despite taking their phone, some teens will find another way to access porn. Seen it happen many times. Hidden phone, a tablet that a friend gives them, or they find one of your old phones. Unfortunately, somebody who is determined to continue their porn addiction will find ways to obtain devices and internet access. As much as as parents, we want to be able to control their access to technology. Someone who is intent on getting it, it's almost impossible to stop. If this pattern emerges with your teen, despite persistent effort on your part to disrupt the addiction, and your teen has demonstrated that you do not have any influence in their life, then it is likely that the next step for you is the need to seek a more intensive intervention like our Star Guides program, 4 months in a therapeutic wilderness setting to serve as a disruption to the addiction, creates a digital and porn detox, a chance to develop coping skills without the dependency of pornography and technology, and a chance to recalibrate and reset your relationship with them, and to reestablish your role and influence in their life as a parent. So to learn more about Star Guides, go to the website, starguides.net, for more info. Or the episode 4 podcast in this series was an episode that specifically covers Star Guides as the ultimate intervention for disrupting a pornography addiction. So go back, listen to that episode. Well, phones are just the gate. The garden is their self-worth, their relationships, their future. So keep building hobbies that light them up. The line of thinking with addiction recovery that I really love is that building a life that becomes more satisfying than whatever pleasure the addiction can provide. That's the key. So hobbies and activities in their life that they have passion for is an absolute key. Get them connected with mentors who see their potential, and get them connected to a faith or value system that says you are more than your worst moment, and you don't have to be defined by your past mistakes. And this is where repentance or becoming clean again, or a new start becomes so important in establishing a recovery. Well, parents, you're not alone. And I know this is hard, but you are doing the bravest thing, choosing their healing over harmony. So should your teen have a phone? Well, if it's the pipeline to porn, no, not yet. A phone-free season isn't the end of their social life. It's the beginning of a real one. And you've got the plan and you've got the why. Now take the step. I know it's hard, but you need to help kickstart a recovery for your teen, and you need to exert your influence as a parent in their life. And as I stated before, this is probably the ultimate test in terms of whether you have influence in your child's life or not. And unfortunately, probably more parents than not cannot find fortitude to implement this intervention. So this is diagnostic, parents. Well, If this episode helped, share it with another parent who needs to hear it, and subscribe anywhere you get the podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and on YouTube. We're in this together. And again, remember to pick up the Recovery Toolbox for Teens in the bookstore at therapyassociates.net. It's the blue version, not the brown one. Brown one is the adult version. Also, check out our resources on the therapyassociates.net website under the resources tab. It's a parent library. You find more than 200 articles, strategies, and research for parents on supporting teens struggling with pornography addiction. And again, for more information on Star Guides, check out the website at starguides.net. Thanks for joining me today, parents. I know your time is valuable, and I hope that you have found this episode helpful. Tune in for ongoing episodes for more ideas, strategies, and guidance on supporting your teen's recovery for pornography addiction.